Growing up, do you feel your family had money? Like money? Or do you just feel, looking back now, that they were just getting by while raising you and your brothers and sisters if you weren't the only child? Because when we talk about money and wealth, it's two different things. And so you got people, they paying power, keeping the lights on, the electricity, water on, gas, food in the refrigerator. You all getting what you want for your birthday, Christmas, and then there's still money left over. You can get those skates that you want, that video game. And just looking back at things for people born who grew up in the 1990s, 1980s, 1970s, and further back, looking at your situation now, let's say, especially if you have a family now and you comparing your lifestyle to when you grew up, can you, hindsight is 2020, does it feel like your parents actually had money in your eyes now at this point, or were they just getting by? Meaning, as far as never missing any type of payments, but you all were good. You never was looking for your next meal. Nothing was ever missed in terms of the light bill, things like that. Everything stayed on. Nothing was cut off. You weren't on any type of government assistance. And so to you, at that time, as a child growing up, did you feel rich? As I've heard stories of people who are adults now who was comparing their situation to the neighbors on their street, and they said, man, we felt like we was doing the thing. We had this, we had that, compared to the person down the street, those kids, just how you perceive stuff growing up as a child, and your parents and what they're doing for a living, and just comparing your situation. Maybe you had a pool in the backyard, and then other kids in the neighborhood didn't. And did you look at that in terms of having things that other kids didn't? That, man, my parents must really have money. Or if you can honestly look back now, even at what you had then and then what you have now, and then really say, no, we were just getting by. I mean, we made it, but we didn't have, as they say, wealth, money. Parents worked, obviously, bills were getting paid by mom and dad. But did we really have money now that you look back at it? Do you feel you all did? And certain people listening to this, you all may have are wealthy, just based on your lifestyle growing up. Because kids will use different comparisons growing up, vacation wise. Okay, we're going to Wisconsin Dells or just somewhere in Indiana, like a little weekend getaway water park for vacation sometimes. And then the next time, maybe we're going to Disney World or we're going to be in Jamaica. Whereas maybe your neighbor a couple of blocks down, their family was always just going to maybe Great America. That was their vacation. And so you comparing them going to Great America to your family going to the Dells or Disney World, and you like, okay, we must really be doing well to actually be getting on an airplane and actually going away for a week. Then you come back, to the neighborhood and telling your friends on your street about it, and they weren't able to go, for whatever reason. And so you think to yourself, okay, we must really have some money here, comparing it to, the people in our neighborhood. But then as an adult now, looking back at your family trips, your vacations, do you still see it as, man, we had some money, my parents had some money, or we were still just getting by while being raised? Once you really look at everything full circle, especially if you look at your lifestyle now and the cost of living being higher now in 2025 versus if you a family person now and you raising children in this year versus you being raised in, the 1950s, 1960s on up through the 1990s, and I'm cutting it off there at the 1990s. Do you feel your parents had money, like real wealth? Looking back now, or do you kind of look at the situations since you can better perceive it now as an adult and how money works and what it goes to and what's left over and budgeting, saving? Does it seem like you all maybe it was just, average family keeping a head above water, not poor, or maybe you were poor, you just weren't as less fortunate as, your neighbors a couple of houses down. Or maybe you didn't live in a house, you all lived in an apartment. These are all things that you may look back on and say that we really have money. My parents were paying rent my whole childhood. Does that mean that they didn't have money like that versus you saw a neighbor who actually had a mortgage? Because we often look at things as children growing up and what we're getting, and it's like, okay, we must really got it like that. So I'm getting this, I'm getting that. My brother and my sister are too. So we're not struggling, it doesn't seem like. And you just, looking at your situation, you just comparing it to, other children in your neighborhood. But now you an adult living in the neighborhood you live in now, and you're paying bills. You can now honestly look back and can you really make a honest, give an honest answer on, man, did we really have money or were we just getting by? And on top of that, if your parents still living, are they leaving anything to you that you know of? At least a home or whatever the case may be, maybe a life insurance policy, and, not leaving any debt to you. If that's the case where, they got something to leave to you possibly, in that mind, does that register like, okay, maybe they have some money, or maybe didn't have that type of money back then now that you look back, but they've accumulated and will be leaving something to you and your brothers and sisters that can help you all financially. So I guess it all depends on what you call real money, especially these days with everything being more expensive to an extent in 2025 versus 1955 and 1975, 1985, 1995. We're just going to go back through those decades because I'm focusing specifically on those generations that runs just three, baby boomers, Generation X, and millennials. So those decades that I'm naming in terms of looking back, do you feel your parents actually had real money? I'm talking to those generations in those time periods. And so if you feel that your parents didn't really have money like that, that's fine. It's a lot of families during these time periods that didn't. They were just getting by. But sometimes as a child, you see yourself, just being able to get the stuff that you had, and you felt you got what you wanted, the bicycle, the video game, and in your mind, you thinking, okay, we must be doing pretty good. But then looking back, were you all actually doing that well? Because you might be basing that off of the material stuff that you all received, but you still didn't know mom and dad's finances like that. And so you just figure all of the objects that you're getting, trinkets, okay, we must be doing fine, going on vacation. And you looking at the type of vehicle mom and dad drive versus the next door neighbor. So it's just always a comparison. And you might have thought, man, we're doing pretty good. Or maybe looking back now in 2025, you can give a assessment and evaluation from a grown-up's perspective, and you see, no, we didn't really have what we thought. We looked at it like that way as children because we just had, necessities, and you say you never wanted for anything. Always food to eat, birthday, Christmas, you got what you asked for. But then now you look back at it as an adult and how things cost now, and you're like, maybe we were just getting by as a family. We were just, parents were doing their best to raise you and your brothers and sisters if you're not the only child, and they were doing the best they could with what they had. And then you now come to that conclusion as an adult and accept that, in terms of if you all actually had real money, whatever you consider that to be. Because some kids grew up feeling that they were rich. I've seen adults say that on different videos over the years. They're grown now, but then they just give an honest evaluation of their upbringing, and then they come back to the conclusion when they say, no, we didn't have that type of money. Everything was just, seems to flow, and it was going good, and we got what we wanted. And so as a 10-year-old, you think that, okay, we doing the thing out here. We, mom and dad, making it happen. We got money. We never wanting for anything, and that's fine. But then you get to an adult and look back, and now you say, well, we weren't really wealthy like that as you thought, once you take everything into consideration. So that's just something, to think about in terms of having money versus wealth, and how you felt your upbringing was during that time. Being able to look back at it now and say, no, we were just getting by. We weren't struggling, but we weren't rich like I thought we were, and how it looked from, being a 10, 11, 12-year-old versus looking back at it now as an adult. Maybe you're 50 now, late 40s, whatever, 60-something now, 70-something now. And you can say, no, we didn't really have it like that. We were okay. Thank God for that. But my parents didn't really have money like that. They were just working, trying to save. We didn't really see, as a child, the finances. So we just looked at it like, okay, everything was going in the right direction. And, everything was, on the up and up. No type of issues, no late payments, missed payments. And that's how you perceive, and, hey, we had money growing up. Or maybe not. And if that's the case, do you feel that if your parents didn't have the type of money that you wanted them to have while you were growing up, do you blame them? Do you think they could have made more money? What's the deal? Or do you feel, okay, hey, this is what they had, and, we was being taken care of to the best of their ability? Or do you think your parents could have done more on the financial side, and maybe you just feel that way based on how you would have liked to have grown up? Because some of you might honestly feel, hey, man, we really didn't know where the next meal was coming from, or I couldn't get the best shoes, depending on your generation. Those people growing up in the 1980s and 1990s specifically, I couldn't get, the Air Jordan sneaker. Everybody else had it. I couldn't get it. So you just measuring what your mom and dad could do based on the material things you asked for and did not get. And so do you feel from that standpoint that your mom and dad could have done better? Maybe a certain TV set that someone had, or a video game that you couldn't get or didn't get. Maybe you had to wait till you got a job on your own, whereas your friends in the neighborhood, they got that for their birthday. So yeah, the way we measure money and look at it, growing up in terms of what our families had, if our parents had real money or if they were just getting by while raising a family, it's different and different levels to it in terms of what people did get, what was in the stores at that time while you were a child at Toys R Us, KB toy stores, wherever you went. So, yeah, money is always, a touchy subject. And in 2025, if you a family person now and you probably wanting to do better than how you were raised, and it's tough out here, and you seeing your situation, comparing it to your family now versus back then, that you maybe didn't have as much as you thought. Hindsight is 2020. So let me know down in the comments, do you feel like your parents had money while you were growing up, or were they just getting by while raising you? Let me know down in the comments. Like, share, and subscribe to the channel. It's Facts or Feelings, all one word, no spaces. Put that in the YouTube search, Facts or Feelings, no spaces, and my channel comes right up. I'm out.